यमुनातीरावनचारी 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 जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जशोदनंदन व्रज जनरंजन यमुनातीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा मदन मोहन राधे जय राधा मदन मोहन राधे जय जगन्नाथ बलदेवा जय सुभद्रमयी जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय जय जय प्रभुपाद जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजक आचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्रीमती डिवाइन ग्रेस AC भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी शिल प्रभुपाद की जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्रीमती डिवाइन ग्रेस भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज शिल प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की नामाचार्य शिल हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तों की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की नवदीप मायापुर धाम की जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की गंगा माई की जाए, यमुना माई की जाए, तुलसी माई की जाए, ट्रांसेंडेंटल बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की जाए, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जाए। ऑल ग्लोरीज टू असम्बुलुटिस, ऑल ग्लोरीज टू असम्बुलुटिस, ऑल ग्लोरीज टू असम्बुलुटिस, ऑल ग्लोरीज टू श्री गुरु एंड गौरंग, ऑल ग्लोरीज टू शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जायामुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैस्तिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपाकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। So welcome to all for today's Friday morning session Srimad Bhagavatam, and today we are discussing from Canto 4 chapter 20 and text 21. Chapter entitled as Lord Vishnu's appearance in the sacrificial arena. Word to word will Sa Adirajo. Okay. Rachita Anjali Harim Vilokitam Na Akasat Ashrulochana Na Kinchana Uvacha Saha Viklava Bashpa Viklava Vridha Upaghuya Amam Adhat Avastita Sa Adirajo Rachitanjalir Harim Vilokitam Nakasad Ashrulochana Nakinchano Vachasa Bhashpa Viklavo Rudopaghuhyayam Adha Avastita Sadirajo Rachitanjalir Harim Vilokitam Nakshad Ashrulochana Nakinchano Vachasa Bhashpa Vilokava Rudopaghuhyamam Adha Avastita Sa Adirajo Rachitanjalir Harim Vilokitam Nakashad Ashrulochana Nakinchano Vachasa Bhashpa Viklavo Rudopaghuhyamam Adhas Avastita. Sa Adirajo Rachitanjalir Harim Vilokitam Nakashad Ashrulochana Nakinchano Vachasa Bhashpa Viklavo Rudhapaghuhyamam Adat Avastita. Sa Adirajo Rachitanjalir Harim विलोकितं नाकषदश्रुलोचन नाकिञ्चनोवाच बाष्पविक्लवो रुद्धोपगुह्यामं मदत् अवस्थिता स आदिराजो रचिताञ्जलिं हरिं विलोकितं नाकदश्रुलोचन नाकिञ्चनोवाच स बाष्पविक्लवो रुद्धोपगुह्यामं मदत् अवस्थिता. Any Mataji's? So we'll read word to word meaning. Saha, he, Adi Rajaha, the original king, Rachita Anjali, with folded hands. Harim, the supreme personality of Godhead. Vilokitam, to look upon. Na, not. Akashat, was able. Ashrulochana, his eyes full of tears. Na, not. Kinchana, anything. Vacha, spoke. Saha, he. Bashpa, Viklava, his voice being choked up. Hruda, with his heart. Upaghiya, embracing. Amam, the Lord. Adhat, he remained. Avastitha, standing. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. The original king, Maharaj Prithu, his eyes full of tears and his voice flattering and choked up, could neither see the Lord very distinctly nor speak to address the Lord in any way. He simply embraced the Lord within his heart and remained standing in that way with folded hands. Purport. Just as Krishna is addressing in the Brahma Samhita Adi Purusha, the original personality, so King Prithu, being an empowered incarnation of the Lord, is referred to this in this verse as Adi Rajaha, the original or ideal king. He was a great devotee and at the same time a great hero who conquered over all undesirable elements in his kingdom. He was so powerful that he was equal in fighting to Indra, the king of heaven. He gave up protection to his citizens, keeping them engaged in pious activities and devotion to the Lord. He did not collect a single cent of tax from the citizens without being able to give them protection from all calamities. The greatest calamity is in life is to become godless and therefore sinful. If the state had a king, state head or king allows the citizen to become sinful by indulging in illicit sex, life, intoxication, meat eating, and gambling, then the king is responsible and he has to suffer the resultant sequences of reactions for the sinful life of the citizens because he levies taxes on them unnecessarily. These are the principles for a ruling power, and because Maharaj Prithu observed all the principles for a ruling chief, he is referred to here as Adi Rajaha. Even a responsible king like Maharaj Prithu can become a pure devotee of the first order. We can distinctly see from King Prithu's behavior how he became ecstatic, both externally and internally, in pure devotional service. Just today, we have seen in the newspaper of Bombay that the government is going to repeal its prohibitions law. Ever since Gandhi's non-cooperation movement, Bombay has been kept dry and shall not allow its citizens to drink. But unfortunately, the citizens are so clever that they had increased illicit distillation of liquor, and although not being sold publicly in shops, liquor is being sold in public lavatories. And similarly, abominable abnormal activities. Unable to check such illicit smuggling, the government has decided to manufacture liquor at cheap prices so that people can have their supply of intoxication directly from the government instead of purchasing it in a public laboratories. The government failed to change the heart of a citizen from indulging in sinful life. So instead of losing the taxes, they collect to inflate the treasury. They have decided to manufacture liquor to supply the citizens who hanker for it, who hanker after it. This kind of government cannot check the resultant actions of sinful life, namely war, pestilence, famine, earthquake, and similar other disturbances. Nature's law is that as soon as there is a disturbance in the regard to the law of God, which are described in Bhagavad Gita as dharmasya glanihir, or disobedient of the law of nature of our God, at once there will be heavy punishment in the form of sudden outbreak of war. We have recently experienced a war between India and Pakistan. Within 14 days, there have been immense losses of men and money, and there have been disturbed to the entire world. These are the reactions of sinful life. The Krishna consciousness movement is meant to make people pure and perfect. If we become even partially pure, as described in Bhagavatam, Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu, by development of Krishna consciousness, then lust and greed, the material disease of the citizens, will be reduced. This can be made possible simply by broadcasting the pure message of Srimad Bhagavatam or Krishna consciousness. Big commercial and industrial firms have contributed many thousands of rupees to a defense fund that burns the money in the form of gunpowder. But unfortunately, if they are asked to contribute literally to advance to Krishna consciousness movement, they are reluctant. Under the circumstances, the world will periodically suffer from such upsurges and outbreak of war, which are the consequences of not being Krishna consciousness. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Nabhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Gurum Sri Uta Padakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamscha. हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरंगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Before speaking from the elevated verse of this particular verse, I seek blessing from all the devotees, especially His Grace Anandmay Prabhu and other Vaishnavas, so that I can speak something worthwhile. Even though I am not qualified to speak on this particular verse, because this verse should be discussed by a relay soul. Even though I don't have such relations, I want to discuss because I have accepted the service given by the authorities, and this will lead me to pure perfection. श्री श्री राधा मदन मोहन की जाए, श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा माई की जाए, श्री श्री गौर निताय की जाए. So this particular verse is describing about the aesthetic symptoms of King Prithu. Even though he is a Shakti Avesh avatar, he is Lord himself, but he took the position of a king. So he want to show how a king should be. And now there was a discussion between Vishnu, Lord Vishnu, who appeared in a sacrificial area of King Prithu, and Prithu Maharaj. So after so much of discussion, in previous two slokas, even the God, Lord Vishnu, he don't want to go because he was so compassionate on King Prithu, and he don't want to leave his dearest devotee, Prithu Maharaj. Even though Indra was beside him only, but there was an aesthetic symptom. Previous to this, 4 to 5 slokas before also, so same discussion happened. That day, His Grace Anandmay Prabhu gave lecture on the aesthetic symptoms. So same thing is happening here. Translation I will read once again. The original king, Maharaj Prithu, his eyes full of tears and his voice flattered and choked up. could neither see the Lord very distinctly nor speak to address the Lord in any way. He simply embraced the Lord within his heart and remained standing in that way with folded hands. So here Prabhupada is highlighting the word Sarajaha. The original Adi king. Why he is telling and he is comparing with Brahma Samhita? In Brahma Samhita, Krishna is called Adi Purusha. From beginning, there is no previous to that Purusha, like that he is comparing. So he is keeping the position of King Prithu in a highest elevated position. Because king means should like Prithu. If we want to discuss about king, standard example like Prithu. So in that way, Adi Purusha Sa Adi Rajaha Charitanjalir Harim. So later on, what happened? Ashrulochana. So later on, he had tears in his eyes, and because of that, he is not able to speak, flattering of voice. So here, this beautiful verse, I want to read one more verse, which is comparing where a sadhaka can take to a pure devotion from 1.6.16. 1.6.16. So same verse, but it is giving step by step procedure. One how a sadhaka, even in this purport it is said like Prithu Maharaj, one everyone can achieve the success because we have to pay the price and follow the process. What is that price? That sadhana. Sadhana is our process. So here ध्यास्ताश्चरणाम्बोजं भावनिर्जितचेतसा औत्कण्ठ्या अश्रुकलाशस्य हृद आसिन्मे शनिर्हरिः. This particular verse is discussion between Narada and Vyasdev. Narada is describing this particular verse to his own disciple, and Guru is explaining how he achieved the perfection. He is discussing about his previous life, Narada, to his own disciple Vyasdev. So here in this verse, if you see, as soon as I began to meditate upon the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead with my mind transformed in transcendental love, tears rolled down from my eyes, and without delay, the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, appeared on the lotus of my heart. So here Narada also claiming same thing. What happened to Prithu Maharaj? Prithu Maharaj also, his eyes also, tears are rolling. And then same, when Narada meditated upon the lotus feet of Vishnu, immediately appeared in the lotus heart of Narada. And that time, Narada felt transcendental ecstasy. This is one of the symptoms of ecstasy. And if we go to purport, Prabhupada is beautifully explaining how a sadhaka can achieve the perfection in life. So here, the word bhava is significant here. This bhava stage is attained after one has transcendental affection for the Lord. The first initial stage is called Shraddha, or the liking of the Supreme Lord. So this is Shraddha. One has to have Shraddha initially. Shraddha will lead to the gradual processes. So here Shraddha or a liking for the Supreme Lord. And in order to increase that liking, one has to associate with pure devotee. Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha. This stage is Sadhu Sangha. And what happened with this Sadhu Sangha? In order to increase that liking, one has to associate with pure devotees of the Lord. The third stage is to practice the prescribed rules and regulation of devotional service. So when this happens, one has to accept a spiritual bona fide spiritual master as his guru. Then he will instruct us what to do, what not to do. So we have to do under the guidance of spiritual master. Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya. So what will happen? It will see. The third stage is to practice the prescribed rules and regulation of devotional service. This will dissipate all sorts of misgivings and remove all personal deficiencies that hamper progress in devotional service. So it will remove all our anartha nivritti. This will remove all our unwanted attachments, desires, whatever is there, gradual process. This when all misgivings and personal deficiencies are removed, there is a standard faith in standard faith in transcendental matter, and the taste for it increases in great proportion. This stage leads to attraction, and after this, there is a bhava, or the prayer stage of unalloyed love for God. All the above different stages are but different stages of development of transcendental love. When the mind is surcharged with transcendental love, there comes a strong feeling of separation, which leads to 8 different kinds of ecstasies. Tears from the eyes of a devotee are an automatic reaction, and because Sri Narada Muni is in his previous birth attained that stage very quickly after his departure from home, it was quite possible for him to perceive the actual presence of the Lord, which he tangibly experienced by his developed sensual spiritual senses without material tinge. So this particular purpose is explaining us how a sadhaka should gradually progress in bhakti, and which lead to pure devotion, that is called prema. Shraddha, sadhu sangha, bhajana kriya, anartha nivritti, nishta and ruchi, followed by asakti and bhava, and bhava leads to prema. This is called pure devotional love. So that time separation also not only near, even separation also will gives ecstatic symptoms. There are, here it is explained that there are 8 ecstatic symptoms. We will discuss that ecstatic symptoms also. So here, if we see the example, we have so many examples from Shastric relations. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited so many ecstatic love on Krishna. Even though he is a Krishna himself in the bhava of Radharani, he showed in the later period of 12 years, final 12 years, he showed ecstatic love. And this ecstatic love, so in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhyalila, first few slokas describing about the symptoms of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how it was actually. So here what will happen in this process, a sadhaka gradually practices like a blossom, bud will slowly gradually blossom into a flower, and from flower to fruit. Fruit means the end result. So it is a process also like that only. Sadhaka, where Shraddha should have initially one should have a Shraddha in Bhakti. With that Shraddha gradually increases and it will become a strong faith. Strong faith. So basic principle is should have Shraddha. So it is like an experiment, and Srila Prabhupada used to call this devotional service as a scientific process. Why this scientific process? Because it gives end result. Suppose if we take a chemical laboratory, there is a experiments mixing so many chemicals in a test tube, and end result there will be different color. PPT, precipitate we will call. That is the end result. If you do a number of times, thousands of times, hundreds of times, whatever you may, the end result will be the same. Correct? So here also, this is a proven process. End result will be bhava, ultimate pure love on Krishna consciousness. So whoever may be doing this bhakti from Shraddha, it will gradually need to Nishtha and finally Prema. So this is the reason this is called scientific. Srila Prabhupada used to call scientific. So what will happen is a fine fruit. Fruit means achieving the pure love of God. That is the ultimate goal of a sadhaka, any jivas. So Arjuna was also told by Krishna that Arjuna, don't be confused. He is taking some risk whether to fight or not. So Krishna told him, don't hesitate. You fight, because it is under the guidance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Correct? So if we want to hand over our life to Krishna, is there any difficulty? No. But ultimately the result will be good. Correct? So same thing Krishna is also telling. So Krishna, don't worry. Previous to that, many personalities have led this process and they achieved the ultimate result. Pure love. So this is a process actually one should follow. And if we see in life of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu being the personality of Godhead himself in the bhava of Krishna, Radharani, so he exhibits so many aesthetic symptoms. So Gadgada, one is choking of the voice, palpitations, Roma, standing of the hairs, and palpitations will be there of the heart, sweating, sometimes even unconsciousness will be there. These 8 kind of symptoms. Sometimes 1 or 2 symptoms will be there, sometimes total 8 symptoms will be there. So in Chaitanya Mahabhava, we are discussing about Bhava, but Mahabhava, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to exhibit Mahabhava symptoms, means all the 8 symptoms were there in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So when he was with Vallabh Bhatt, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited Ashtasatvika Vikar, these 8 symptoms. But immediately he recognized that Vallabh Bhatt is there, so immediately he stopped his aesthetic symptoms. So here, Prithu Maharaj also has same kind of symptoms, internally and externally. Here it is there, though 2 kinds of symptoms are there. One is externally and one internally. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also immediately stopped his aesthetic symptoms in front of Vallabh Bhatt, because one may feel that this is not the correct process actually. So like a chaste wife will not exhibit her body to public. Likewise, a pure devotee exhibit his symptoms only to Krishna, who is like husband. In front of everyone, she will not exhibit, right? So like that only, a pure devotee will exhibit his, whatever may be, symptoms only in front of Krishna. If we are showing in front of others, then it is like a cheap. Actually, others will take it as a, what they will do? They will misuse. So pure devotees never will exhibit symptoms outside. Same thing happened once with Srila Prabhupada. When Srila Prabhupada was giving lecture in Mayapur festival, that great Mayapur festival, once he was in Vyasasana, and in between the lecture, Srila Prabhupada stopped suddenly, and he was in aesthetic symptoms. So everyone was very silent, pin drop silence was there, and devotees were even afraid to take loud breath, because that may disturb Srila Prabhupada. So immediately, Hamsadutta Maharaj was there, that time he was a sannyasi, he immediately started Om Namo Vishnu Padaya. So everyone started Kirtan. So immediately Srila Prabhupada came from trance, he was in meditation. So later on that discussion happened after the class. So everyone were asking, how come you started Kirtan? Srila Prabhupada was in trance. So Hamsadutta said, because from Shastra, we should not exhibit outside. So when this was an argument, they went actually. That time, secretary, Srila Prabhupada's secretary was Brahmananda. So he had a question, whether to exhibit or not, or whether to disturb or not. So when Prabhupada was privately in his quarters, so many devotees went there. When Brahmananda was asking Prabhupada, today morning in Bhagavatam class, there was an aesthetics. So and Srila Prabhupada said, oh, okay, leave it, don't talk about this. So no, Srila Prabhupada, we want to ask whether it is proper etiquette to stop when there was an ecstasy like this. He said, yeah, it's okay, you should do it. And regularly I won't exhibit this kind of symptoms. Srila Prabhupada humbly said that regularly I won't exhibit this kind of symptoms. So it means it is an instruction that we should not exhibit, correct? So Brahmananda asked whether we should continue with Kirtan. Prabhupada said, yes, you can continue with Kirtan. So because Hamsadutta Maharaj that time, he started Kirtan, Prabhupada came into trance. He never exhibited, but suddenly it came. Even sometimes we saw during lectures of Anandamaya Prabhu, he went into trance, literally crying. I think voice was choked. I saw personally, many devotees here, I think you saw, especially during reading Srila Prabhupada's Leelamrita, because Prabhupada was Prabhu was so gratitude that Prabhupada saved him. That kind of gratitude they have. Why? Because this process made them very soft-hearted. Soft-hearted people are like attracting the many magnet. It will become like a magnet. Srila Prabhupada's life history, if you see, he was also soft-hearted. Sometimes he may be chasing, but that was for the betterment of the disciple. So he used to attract so many, right, Indians, foreigners. So his activity, his movement was actually Prabhupada movement. Even though it was Krishna consciousness movement, everyone were serving for Srila Prabhupada. They don't know Krishna much. They know Prabhupada only. Because of that attachment to Srila Prabhupada, they used to do anything. They used to take all kind of risk. Why? Because that kind of attraction is there with Srila Prabhupada, because they hold Krishna every time within heart. That makes them attraction to all the other souls. So that is where pure devotion. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so many times he used to exhibit such kind of symptoms, and from his all the pores blood used to flow. So that kind of ecstasies he used to show. And sometimes whenever he saw that sand dunes, he used to run by remembering Govardhan. He used to cry also. Literally, he used to cry. He is thinking of Govardhan, and he used to run sometimes. And when he was in Gambira, he never slept actually. He 24 hours in Krishna's separation only. In Gambira, it was there in discussion in Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, his tooth became loosened because every time he was in constant separation. That is one of the symptoms also. And his head, he used to rub with the wall. And so many injuries were there on Srila Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So sometimes, even though doors were closed, he used to go outside, and many times he will be in Jagannath temple near the Simhadar. That is the description. I don't know how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to go. Sometimes he used to go and he used to fell in sea. So unconsciousness only. That is the symptoms. Actually, pure devotees exhibit this. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he want to show actually is Krishna himself. So that kind of imitations should not be done by others. Sahajiyas, usually Sahajiyas do this kind of imitations. Like if a child put her shoes in a mother shoe, she will become pregnant? No, na? Like keeping a pillow in the belly, is it possible that she will beget a child? No. Just an imitation that she is also like pregnant mother. That will not give any result. And same thing, the Sahajiyas also imitate that they are also having so many vows, Krishna vow. But that is not the proper etiquette also. It is an offensive mentality. So here, apart from that also, one Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, he had only one disciple, but many followers were there. He was discussing about Krishna Katha with his followers. So one day his follower brought one great merchant, rich merchant. He said, Babaji, this devotee is very great devotee and he is exhibiting so many symptoms and is very rich also. He left his family and he sold so many properties and he want to give you 45 lakhs as a donation. That time 45 lakhs means so much, right? So that time 45. So he said, so he has tears in his eyes. Sometimes he roll on the ground. He has so much of love for Krishna. So Gaur Kishore Das Babaji said, immediately throw this fellow outside. I don't want to see him. Because literally maybe we are thinking Gaur Kishore Das Babaji may be literally uneducated. But his the end result of Shastras they know. Who are actually pure devotees, who are imitating. Maybe we saw in that history, even though Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was very scholarly, educated, materially also. So Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, he don't have any material education. So it does not mean that he don't know anything. Shastric injections, they know perfectly. That's the reason Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj took initiation, only one disciple. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj. So many followers were there. So immediately he said, throw this fellow out and clean that area with cow dung. You don't want to keep those remnants also. So later on that evening, so the same followers were asking Babaji Maharaj. So morning we were little confused because he is showing so many symptoms, Bhava and all. So why you rejected him? Srila Bhakti Gaur Kishore Das Babu said, this fellow is a imitator. That is not pure devotion. So sometimes even newcomers who have come to temple, they will exhibit also some kind of aesthetic by seeing kirtan, especially like Damodar Ashtakam going on. So many people will show symptom. It does not mean they are in Bhava stage, correct? Those are all perverted reflections of the aesthetic symptoms, not pure. Sometimes people watching movies, they will also go into aesthetic. When tragedy is there, they will cry. When comedy is there, they will laugh. When stunts are there, they will kick people outside. So they will be having so many symptoms, but those are all not under pure category. Those are all perverted reflections of aesthetic symptoms. Okay, so many, we should not get confused whether this person is pure devotee or no, because we have to undergo this process, pay the price and follow the process. Without paying the price means sadhana, how a devotee can become perfection in life. So that is all perverted reflections. For a fraction of moment, for 2 hours, 3 hours, it will be there for movie. But after that, it will not be there. But that is not the case with pure devotees. Constantly, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was 24 hours in suppression. Especially Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited in 12 years. Previous to that, before initiation, he was also like regular, everyone. He was also arguing with scholarly people. He was also jokingly, he was used to joke with Vaishnavas. But when he took Diksha from Ishwara Puruvi, later on, his heart gradually showed so many symptoms actually. That Chaitanya Mahaprabhu want to show us what is the process. He also accepted Guru and he also accepted the process. So he want to show us. So and later part, Srila Prabhupada highlighting about the kings, government. So even though I am not interested to discuss on the governments, what actually governments are doing, but Srila Prabhupada is quoting 50 years back also, when Prabhupada was there, here it is telling, just today we have seen in the newspaper of Bombay that the government is going to repeal its prohibition law. Ever since Gandhi's non-cooperation movement, Bombay has been kept dry and has not allowed citizens to drink. So that time also there was a prohibition of liquors. Few years back, when one CM was there in combined state, so that time also this prohibition was there. Is all N.T. Ramarao, you may be knowing. He also kept this kind of provisions. That time what happened? People, they used to go to other states and they used to drink there. So people will not stop such kind of activities. If you stop this kind of, if you bring strict regulations, whether they are going to stop. So many accidents were there that time. So many accidents while going from other state to this. So this will not give any end result. And if you see in Andhra Pradesh also, so governments are actually, they themselves doing, or legally they are giving license to butcher shops, legally. And they themselves are running. And whatever the profit they are getting, they are using for welfare of the citizens, so-called welfare of the citizens. And they are manufacturing liquors also. So one day we were going to Vijayawada, suddenly one devotee's father expired. We were in a rush actually. What happened? Immediately stopped bus. They stopped the bus and they were searching. I thought what these people are doing, because regularly we won't go. So finally I asked what these people are searching for. They said they are searching for any bottles, because Andhra Pradesh is manufacturing their own liquor brand. They have brand and the brand cost too high. So they were avoiding this transportation from Telangana to Andhra. So I don't know. That is not the end result, right? And they are legally doing this alcohol, meat eating, illicit relation, everything they are promoting. So here if you compare Prithu Maharaj, he never used to leave a single penny without giving proper protection to the citizens. That is the ideal king. Srila Prabhupada is comparing between the two, how a Raja Rishi is ruling the king, have a demonic kings, demonic so-called kings ruling the king. So they don't have any spiritual knowledge only, and they are all promoting all demonic, all 4 regulative principles they are promoting. Meat eating, gambling, illicit relations, intoxications, everything they are promoting. How citizens will be happy, correct? So, and finally what will happen? This end result is calamities. Here it is telling, immediately there was a war between India and Pakistan. What happened? Within the 12 years, so many people died in the name of war. So in another state, there was beef feast in Kerala. So what happened? Literally in the marketplaces, they used to eat, because that is ruled by an atheistic government. They don't have any faith in government, God. So they used to kill cow, and literally and openly they were doing. Finally, what happened? Within few days, there was calamity. There was a drought in Kerala, right? Everyone knows. Just 2 years back, right? And their food was not there. Some droughts were there, and what like tsunami kind of thing was there. Tsunami kind of was there. There is a drought. They don't know what is the result. Simply they want to show and that we are atheistic government and we don't depend on God. Finally, who is suffering? Same citizens are suffering. Correct? So they should read Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. They also should take association of devotees. Then they will come to know what actually how to rule kingdom, how to rule citizens. Then everyone will be happy. Not only themselves, kings. All the citizens will be very happy. In Shastras, it is said that if you levy taxes unnecessarily with you giving proper protection, 1/6 of their bad karma you have to take. The king who is ruling, he has to take 1/6 of bad karma. So this is giving them bad result only, right? So only one solution is to distribute books and distribute Srimad Bhagavatam, so that this kind of leaders, if they read Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita and Srila Prabhupada books, at least they will get benefited and they know how to rule kingdom. So maybe 5 years, 10 years they will be there. At least if they can do something for the welfare of the citizens, it will help actually. So many things are there, but time 8:59. So like this, so many things are there which leads to pure devotion, but one should not imitate. One should not imitate these symptoms that we are a devotee and all. So this essence is that one has to take Bhagavata Dharma. Bhagavata Dharma means the process. So that one from Shraddha to ultimately one has to get Prema. It is not only for Prithu Maharaj or Narada Muni. Even Dhruva Maharaj also showed. He paid the price. He followed the process. The end result was he also showed symptoms of tears and all. That is actually, it give happiness from the soul within. So this is pure devotion. And that time, anchoring will not be there materially. Anchoring will not be there. So steadiness will be there, pure devotion. Finally, one will go back to Godhead. What the end result is to go back Godhead. So this is what my relation. Actually, even though I don't have any relation from the senior authorities, from seeing personally, so I want to discuss this Bhava stage. So forgive me if I am speaking something without my relation. So as a service, I took this. Srila Prabhuji, if you want to add something on Bhava stage, because you are a relay source for us, and we are in association of a pure devotee, what Shastras are saying. Because of that, we are able to understand something from the Shastras. So if you can add, that will be very good. Many times we saw, Prabhuji, that from Vyasasana, your voice was choked up, tears were coming. But even you immediately, you yourself stopped those aesthetic symptoms. So that's the reason I'm asking. Thank you, Prabhuji. श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।